Coverage though?
Yeah. But that's typically harder, I think, the zones like, for quarterbacks. I'm gonna say they made a bad decision. They should have got Shedeur Sanders. And like, maybe I was looking at tape because he's not bad. Jaxson Dart's not a bad quarterback. And you're comparing him to Josh Allen. It makes sense. I want a guy like Josh Allen too. Like every team wants that. Until you really watch him, he looks nothing like Josh Allen. Where at? Arm strength? They not in the same class.
No.
And then we keep talking about all this, like this mobility and scramble and all that. Like, he don't run like Josh Allen.
Giants considering trading up for a quarterback, Jaxson Dart, later in the first round. Bad businesses tend to overcompensate for previous mistakes and reach. So the idea the Giants now think Jaxson Dart is the dude for the future in New York. Let me just ask you this. You ever notice that a lot of the quarterbacks that don't make it, you weren't paying a lot of attention to in college and they suddenly got really...
What if I told you the New York Giants might have just fumbled their entire future on draft night? While Shedeur Sanders, one of the most polished NFL-ready quarterbacks we've seen in years, sat patiently waiting for his name to be called, the Giants shocked everyone.
The roster right now is not good enough to keep their jobs for another year. They're going to lose a bunch. And Jaxson Dart is not a tantalizing enough prospect for everyone to want to see it through. So they're not going to say, oh, why don't you stay on and develop these guys? So then you get the worst thing you could possibly get, which is a regime change in the middle of a rookie quarterback's contract when the rookie isn't anointed as the chosen one, and then things get lost. That's why I don't like it from time to time.
Instead of grabbing the sure bet, they rolled the dice on Jaxson Dart, a wild card pick with moments of brilliance, but a record full of inconsistency. Now, just weeks later, that so-called bold move is already looking like a major mistake. Reports from OTAs are sounding the alarm. And not in a good way. Coaches are privately voicing concerns. Insiders are whispering about buyer's remorse. And even retired legends are calling this decision a career-ending blunder. One scout was even overheard saying the pick felt desperate, not confident. That's not a good look for a franchise already on shaky ground. The reaction across the league? Pure disbelief. Former players, analysts, and even legends like Tom Brady and Michael Irvin have chimed in, calling it one of the most confusing draft moves in years. Fans in New York are losing it. Social media's on fire with clips comparing Sanders' laser-sharp passes to Dart's off-target throws from practice.
The value we put on quarterbacks in this league, that's shocking that Shedeur Sanders did not get drafted last night. That's just, and asking me what was the reason.
Some are even joking that the Giants drafted a highlight reel, not a leader. Brutal. From the start, something about this move didn't sit right. Sanders dominated college football's toughest competition, standing tall under pressure, making pro-level reads, and throwing dimes deep downfield like it was nothing. The man had the poise, the swagger, and the numbers to back it up. Meanwhile, Dart flashed potential, sure, but he was streaky. Good 1 week, lost the next. His highlight tape looked nice, but his game tape told the truth. Now the Giants are staring down the possibility that they passed on a generational talent for a gamble that might already be backfiring. It's not just a bad pick. It could be the kind of decision that haunts a franchise for years to come. So why did the Giants take such a huge gamble and fumble it this badly? That's the million-dollar question everyone's asking right now, and the early signs aren't making it look any better. Reports straight out of Giants OTAs are painting a picture fans were praying wouldn't be real. Accuracy issues, shaky reads, and a clear lack of control in the huddle. It's starting to feel less like growing pains and more like a full-blown red flag waving over the franchise. Every day, it's becoming clearer that Jaxson Dart might not be ready for the NFL spotlight. One insider even admitted that some coaches are already second-guessing their decision, whispering behind closed doors that they might have backed the wrong quarterback. That's wild. We're not even through the offseason yet. And it gets worse. During the pre-draft hype cycle, Dart was being sold as the next Josh Allen. Seriously, let's stop right there, because that comparison is downright reckless. Comparing Jaxson Dart to Josh Allen is like comparing a sparkler to a flamethrower. They both light up, but only one can set the whole field on fire. Allen's got that elite arm strength, explosive mobility, and the kind of raw intensity that makes defenders nervous before the snap. Dart, on the other hand, still looks like he's figuring out the basics. His timing's off, his reads are slow, and that commanding presence they promised? Nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders has been handling pressure like a veteran since day one. Whether it's threading the ball through impossible coverage or slipping out of collapsing pockets like a magician, he doesn't just play quarterback, he owns it. Watching him in action feels like watching a seasoned pro. Confident, calm, surgical. Yet somehow, the league let him slide right through the first round untouched. Michael Irvin called it unbelievable, and he's absolutely right. For a league that claims to value leadership and production, leaving Shedeur on the board felt like straight-up negligence. Irvin wasn't the only one stunned either. Boomer Esiason went off, saying flat out that Dart isn't what NFL teams usually want in a quarterback. He even hit him with the coldest line of all, calling Dart a mute quarterback, basically saying the guy has zero vocal presence, zero fire, and no real ability to rally a team. That's brutal. But if it's true, it's devastating for a franchise as desperate for direction as the New York Giants. The Giants have been desperate for a real quarterback identity for years, and it's showing more than ever right now. When LeSean McCoy heard their draft decision, his reaction was pure disbelief. The man looked baffled. He straight up said, Jaxson Dart isn't even in the same league as Josh Allen. Not in arm strength, not in movement, not even close in presence. McCoy didn't hold back one bit, pointing right back to Shedeur Sanders as the guy who clearly had the higher ceiling, better poise, and the type of leadership the Giants have been missing for over a decade. Instead, they chased hype over substance, a comparison that never made sense to begin with. And here's the kicker. The Giants didn't just pass on Sanders, they traded up to grab Dart. That's not some random decision. That's a franchise putting their whole reputation on the line. That's ownership saying, we found our guy, and doubling down in front of the entire league. But now, just weeks later, it's starting to look like a franchise-altering blunder that could cost people their jobs. The kind of decision that follows a GM for years, and not in a good way. Even Tom Brady, yes, that Tom Brady, stepped into the mix, not to slam Dart, but to uplift Sanders. Brady revealed that he personally texted Shedeur after the draft, telling him to keep his head up and not let the snub define him. And when the greatest quarterback to ever do it takes time to reach out personally, that speaks volumes. Brady reminded him that he was drafted 199th overall and still became the ultimate underdog legend. It was a message of hope, but let's be honest, it carried a quiet undertone. You deserved better. That text wasn't just encouragement, it was validation from a GOAT who recognized a kindred talent left hanging. Then Colin Cowherd jumped in and didn't sugarcoat a thing. He called the Giants' move a classic case of overcompensation, saying this franchise has been so traumatized by years of quarterback misfires that they swung for the fences without checking their aim. According to Cowherd, the Giants didn't draft Dart for what he is. They drafted him for what they hope he becomes. And let's be real, that kind of wishful thinking almost never ends well in the N.F.L. Now the pressure in New York is reaching a boiling point. The season hasn't even kicked off yet, and the questions are already flying like wild. Can Dart develop fast enough to silence the critics? Will the coaching staff protect his confidence without tanking their win column? And the biggest question of all, what happens if Shedeur Sanders starts tearing up the league with another team while the Giants struggle to stay afloat? You can feel the tension building inside that facility, the kind of tension that either makes legends or ends careers. Everybody wants their rookie quarterback to be the next big thing. But this situation, it feels different. Heavier, tense, almost like a ticking clock. It's not just skepticism floating around the Giants facility, it's full-blown dread. Because if Jaxson Dart doesn't shine, and fast, the blame game in New York won't stop with him. The media's already sharpening their knives, ready to go after the front office, the scouting department, the coaching staff, even ownership itself. And let's be real, New York media doesn't criticize, they obliterate. They smell weakness and go straight for the jugular every single time. So here's where things stand. The Giants passed on a proven leader with NFL bloodline, elite precision, and a calmness under pressure that's rare even among veterans. Instead, they bet the franchise on potential, a word that's quickly turning into a warning sign. And the crazy part, the player they passed on, Shedeur Sanders, is only getting more love, more attention, and more respect by the day. Fans are switching sides, players are speaking up, and it's starting to look like the Giants might have literally handed another team their future franchise quarterback. While Giants fans are trying to stay hopeful, there's just no hiding what's already unfolding. Every underthrown pass from Dart, every mistimed read, every awkward play in practice, it's all being analyzed frame by frame. The whispers are growing louder, and they're not just coming from reporters or Twitter trolls. They're coming from inside the building. Some team insiders are already questioning if Dart is really the guy or just the next name on a long list of quarterback experiments gone wrong. And you can't ignore the deja vu. Remember when Daniel Jones was supposed to be the savior? Yeah, Giants fans remember too. They bet big, handed him the keys to the kingdom, and ended up stuck in mediocrity. Watching this front office seemingly repeat the exact same mistake, just swapping the jersey name, feels like deja vu in 4K. The same hype, the same promises, the same results. Only this time, the stakes are higher and the patience thinner. What makes it sting even more? Shedeur Sanders isn't sitting around complaining. He's out there grinding, locked in, laser-focused, using every slight as fuel. He's not sulking. He's not pointing fingers. He's putting in work. And you can bet the second he steps onto that N.F.L. field, the comparisons are going to explode. Every highlight reel throw Sanders makes will be lined up next to whatever Dart is doing in New York, and fans will instantly see who the real deal is. The spotlight in New York has never been kind, but this one's starting to burn. NFL analyst Pete Prisco didn't sugarcoat it either. He slapped the Giants with a C- grade for the pick. Not just because Dart needs time to develop, but because the Giants don't have that time. They're a franchise running out of patience, out of excuses, and maybe even out of faith. And if Dart doesn't flip this narrative soon, the headlines in New York won't just call it a mistake, they'll call it a meltdown. New York is a win-now market. Always has been, always will be. Fans aren't waiting 3 years to see if their quarterback might be good. They want production yesterday. And if Jaxson Dart can't deliver, things could spiral out of control fast. We're talking coaching changes, front office shakeups, maybe even a full-blown rebuild. That's the danger of drafting a project quarterback in a city where patience doesn't exist. The NFC East isn't forgiving. It's a war zone. Look at Philly, stacked and ruthless. Dallas, flashy but deadly when they're clicking. Even Washington's quietly leveling up. Meanwhile, the Giants? They're just hoping their rookie quarterback can survive training camp. That's not strategy, that's desperation. And the craziest part? The front office still wants fans to believe the Josh Allen comparisons. Let's be real, that narrative needs to stop now. Josh Allen was a once-in-a-generation physical monster. A cannon for an arm, a freight train on the run, and a full organization in Buffalo that built around him. They gave him the tools, the coaching, and the patience to grow. Jaxson Dart, he's being thrown straight into the fire, expected to lead, perform, and fix a franchise that's been starved for quarterback success for nearly a decade. That's not development, that's a setup. It's wishful thinking dressed up as scouting reports. LaShawn McCoy didn't bite his tongue on this one either. He said it plain as day. Dart doesn't have Allen's arm strength, doesn't have the legs, and doesn't carry the same commanding energy on the field. McCoy called the Giants' move a reach, and not a small one either. A huge one. He wasn't just puzzled, he was shocked, and he's far from alone. Social media exploded after the draft, with fans asking the same question everyone in the league was thinking. How did Shedeur Sanders, with his proven production, football IQ, and NFL-ready pedigree, get passed over for a maybe? And let's not forget, Shedeur isn't just another prospect. He's the son of NFL Hall of Famer Jaxson Sanders. Football isn't just part of his story, it's in his DNA. The man grew up surrounded by greatness, learning how to handle pressure, how to lead, how to win. You can see it every time he steps on the field. Calm eyes, steady hands, confident voice. He's humble, focused, and fierce when the game's on the line. The guy lives for the big moments, and the Giants looked at that and said, "Nah, we're good? That's insane." Colin Cowherd didn't just criticize the pick, he exposed it. He said this wasn't about drafting talent, it was about covering up failure. In his words, the Giants weren't picking a quarterback, they were picking a distraction. That hit hard. He claimed the team was trying to erase years of quarterback mistakes with a flashy, emotional move instead of a smart, grounded one. And honestly, it feels that way. Like a panic pick from a front office too scared to admit it's lost its touch. They didn't trust the process. They trusted the spotlight. And in New York, that kind of thinking never ends quietly. It ends explosively. And here's where things get really uncomfortable for the New York Giants, because this story could come back to haunt them big time. What happens if Shedeur Sanders lands in the perfect system? Imagine him with a coach who actually believes in his talent, an offense built to showcase his strengths, and a fan base that gives him the space to grow instead of tearing him down at the first bad throw. If that happens, and let's be real, it's looking very possible, the Giants will go down as the poster child for draft day regret. The kind of regret that gets replayed on ESPN every season for the next decade. This isn't just one bad decision, it's a pattern. The Giants have been swinging and missing on quarterbacks for years. While other teams are stacking wins and building long-term stability under center, New York's still out here chasing the next guy, hoping this one will finally break the curse. But deep down, you can feel it, even inside that locker room. They all know it could have been different. Nobody in that building wants to say it out loud, but Shedeur Sanders could have been that guy, the one to reset the culture, bring energy back to the franchise, and give fans something real to believe in. Instead, they let him walk right by. Now the pressure in New York is absolutely suffocating. Jaxson Dart is under a microscope like few rookies ever are. Every single snap he takes will be judged, not just on its own, but in direct comparison to what Sanders is doing elsewhere. The media's waiting, fans are watching, and the NFL world is circling like sharks. If Dart struggles, and according to multiple reports, he already is, this won't just be a bad pick, it'll be a franchise-altering mistake. So here's the real question nobody wants to ask. What does success even look like for Jaxson Dart at this point? Does he need to make the Pro Bowl just to quiet the critics? Does he have to drag the Giants into the playoffs in his rookie year just to justify the pick? Because honestly, in New York's win-now market, anything less is going to feel like a letdown. That kind of pressure has crushed young quarterbacks before. It eats confidence alive. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders gets to play the part of the underdog, the forgotten star, the guy every analyst says should have gone higher. And that's dangerous because Shedeur's built different. He thrives on doubt. Every time someone questions him, it adds fuel to his fire. You can already tell he's using the snub as motivation. So when he finally steps onto that field and starts lighting up defenses, it won't just be another highlight, it'll be revenge. And for the Giants, that's gonna sting for a long, long time. Every touchdown Shedeur Sanders throws, every game-winning drive he leads, every post-game interview where he flashes that calm, confident smile, he won't even have to say the Giants' name because everyone watching will already be thinking it. Every highlight will feel like a silent reminder of the mistake that could define an entire franchise. And the worst part for New York? There's no rewind button. The decision's made, the pick is in, and the countdown to comparison has already begun. Right now, one quarterback's fighting just to stay afloat, struggling to command the huddle and find rhythm, while the other has a clear shot at superstardom. Only one of them wears Giants blue, but fans can't help wondering if they backed the wrong one. Giants Nation, what now? Do you really believe Jaxson Dart is the answer? Or are you just holding on to hope because you've seen this movie too many times before? Are you willing to be patient again after years of false starts, false promises, and broken rebuilds? Or is this just another chapter in the never-ending story of what could have been? Because here's the truth. If Shedeur Sanders becomes everything the scouts said he could be, and Jaxson Dart keeps tripping over his own hype, this won't just go down as a bad pick. No, this will become the pick. The one people replay in documentaries. The one that fans bring up every draft season. The one that defines the Giants' modern era as the moment they fumbled their future. The spotlight's already burning bright, and the clock's ticking louder by the week, so don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story's just getting started, and you won't want to miss how it ends. See you on the next one.